So I'm going to tell you a little story. My claim to fame for this panel is that I managed to get all these guys together, these very busy people, together for a call within less than 24 hours for a panel call. So I'm going to be telling that story for a long time because you guys are clearly very busy and you're at busy organizations doing a lot. Now, unfortunately, that kind of agility isn't necessarily present when you look at sort of how organizations have been able to adapt to areas like cloud governance and security maturity. In a fast-paced, evolving environment. So what I wanted to ask about is, where are some of the biggest disconnects that you guys have seen between business ambition and security ability in organizations? And I'm going to ask each of you to answer that from your own perspectives. We won't all be able to get to every question, but let's start with this one from you. Who wants to take that first?
I got the mic. I'll go ahead and take it first.
All right.
So my background before PackSize is I actually worked for AWS. I led their strategic accounts division for Fortune 50 companies. And so these were for strategic accounts. And the one thing that I saw across all of these companies, these are large, massive organizations, is the why behind initiatives. A lot of what we try to push inside organizations and initiatives we try to do, we try to fast track these for development for no other reason than someone in their head has come up with an initiative to do it. And it puts not only technology and security and governance and legal teams and procurement and other groups at odds with each other. It creates friction within the organization for no other reason than it's an artificial, tangible date on why we need to achieve something by a certain time. When you're executing strategy at a high level, if you have some type of ownership in the company, make sure you're communicating the why, the return on investment, why this matters. Bring in other stakeholders, get direction and division on why you're leading this ambition, what's the architecture behind it more than anything. To get collaboration and to be all on the same page in the organization makes things move so much quicker, especially coming from a third party when you're trying to deploy this for a company that are all at odds with each other. It can become very difficult.
That's great for bridging that disconnect. Thanks.
Yeah, I would add on to what Troy said. A lot of times in cyber, we like tools. We love tools, love to buy tools. The more tools, the merrier. We just keep buying tools, right? And a lot of the hard things about cloud security and cloud migration are driven by human factors, right? We have skill set gaps. You have fragmented ownership between application teams, the CISO organization, other groups, and those gaps are areas where risk can get introduced into your environment. So I think the biggest thing I think about is the people piece, right? Which is how do you get all of the stakeholders, as Troy was saying, how do you get all the stakeholders in line? How do you have clear ownership and responsibilities so that the different groups know their areas of responsibility, and you don't have gaps, which is where risk can get introduced. So that's, I think, the biggest thing.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, begin with why and focus on your people. Those are awesome and key things I look at too. I would say, Amy, that I have seen this much more with AI today, the gap between governance and the pace of implementation, than I do with cloud. In fact, I talk to a lot of CISOs all across the country, and I actually see this, that gap closing with cloud when we talk about cloud governance. When I was at Wiley, we actually implemented a whole bunch of automated governance, some really cool things in terms of compliance as code. Of course, I focus on DevSecOps, so that was a big focus for me at Wiley. But being able to automate that stuff, putting guardrails in place with things like Control Tower were really important. And I actually see organizations maturing in that space. I will say, to your question, where I do see a gap or a challenge is organizations doing what I think of as the second wave of migration, right? I mean, back at AWS, I'm sure you saw this as well, but it was the lift and shift, the get to cloud as fast as possible, no matter what. So you put poor performing workloads that weren't designed for cloud in cloud environments. And then you go, why does this cost so much, right? So there's that second wave migration where people are going, oh wait, we actually need to do this correctly. And they're having to remigrate cloud workloads to cloud workloads optimized for the cloud. So I do think there's room to improve, but I think things are heading in the right direction.
Thanks for that.
It's a very interesting perspective. So start with the why, right people and process, don't do lift and shift, right? And a lot of what they say actually resonates a lot with the things that we do. And I feel that the gap between what is really there in terms of ambition and security reality is not usually a technology problem, but it's mostly because of a gap in the operating model, which is the move to cloud for most enterprises has been lightning fast, right? So Sean just said that a lot of times you just do a lift and shift, right? That's the fastest move that you can make to the cloud, but you end up with a lot of technical debt, right? And that technical debt essentially is going to compound multifold when it comes to the security problems that are going to come in operating that technical debt in the cloud. So I think that that's kind of the core area that where enterprises need to relook at how to govern, secure, and manage operating risk in the cloud. And one of the things where I feel organizations who are getting ahead from the ones that we work with are the ones who are focusing more on platform engineering, automation, and things like policy as code. So, even for several of our clients today, what we do at ZapSec from a platform engineering perspective is something called Zero Trust as code, which is abstract your security intents through a pipeline, go ahead and codify all of those security patterns, and then have it version controlled, peer reviewed, repeatable, and you really take out the element of humans making manual security reviews or doing security policies, which is a very on-premises, data-centric model, right? When you're opening IP-based firewall rules, it's a lot of reviews, you have a lot of people basically incorporating those policies. But things are very programmatic in the cloud, and that's a very important area which is often overlooked in terms of their operating model, and that makes a difference. Because the analogy of what I would say is that if you still use your on-prem data-centric style security operations in the cloud, it's like you're driving like a Formula One car, 200 miles an hour, but the road's full of potholes, right? How far are you going to get before you end up in disaster? So that's what I would say as the main difference in successful versus what is the business reality today.
Thanks for that, Rohan. It's a great set of questions and answers to think about.